Hello and welcome to See Hope Podcast, where we find hope in every situation that we can. Tonight, we are going to be talking about the Australian election results. We actually haven't had a chance to talk it through. And joining me tonight is, welcome back, everyone, John.
Hello, sorry for the hiatus.
He was gone and he's back. And yeah, we're good to go. Before we get into it, though, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share the show with all your friends. We can't do this without your support. Let's get straight into it. John, the Australian election didn't go the way you kind of, or we kind of hoped. What was your hope? Let's start with what was your hope for the election to begin with? Like, what was the result that you wanted to see?
Hung parliament, really. I think the two-party system doesn't really represent everyone, and I'd say I'm a part of that. So more power to the independents, I guess, would be the key for me. But
because you just don't want things to be happening in government, right? Or do you want them to be able to have to negotiate more?
Yeah, negotiate more. And my issue is that with this election, Labor and Liberal really didn't distinguish themselves. Like I said, that Labor's always been Labor, and Liberal were trying to play Labor's game and promise all this money spent everywhere.
Yeah,
and that's not a Liberal party to anyone. So I believe that's ultimately what ended their run there.
Yeah, I think I think I wanted a stronger independence as well. I do want the back and forth in Parliament, and I'd rather see the negotiations going on there. And and that's not what we got. We got a very different result. We'll pull it up here for everyone to see. We just need to enable a refresh because they want to refresh the data as much as possible. So Labor came out and was super strong. They absolutely smashed it. They've got 83 seats currently, and it looks like they've got 9 potential seats.
Yeah, that's the lower house.
Yeah, this is
So they got
the House of Representatives. So they've got
the majority already.
Yeah, they've got the majority. They can pretty much push through the things they want. So I don't know about people who watch this show and where they kind of sit in kind of where they, if they align up with our kind of idea of where we'd want to see the Parliament. What is your hope coming out of this? I know this is not what you wanted, but what can you see through this?
So I'm an ex-Liberal voter.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that they get shaken up pretty hard with this.
Yeah, I mean, you can
go back to their roots.
If everyone knows, if surely everyone knows by now, but like the Nationals and Liberals have broken up. Like the Liberal Party is just like, it's just, they're not doing well, and then they've got to reform something shocking, and surprise. I guess something that we didn't see coming was just in the price coming across.
You're right.
And so she's in with the Liberal Party now. She's left the Nationals, and then the National, I guess that might have been one of the catalysts that broke the two parties up. I don't know, but like, it really needs to shake them up, because they got hit really hard in the last election, and then this election just kind of solidified it.
And if you're looking at global trends, actually Canada was the same thing, where it looked like the Conservative Party was going to take over, and then they lost somehow.
Yeah, I mean, there was. I kind of put it like I was saying to the people around me, like, I don't see how Liberals can come out with a win. Like, I can actually, like, for someone who pays attention, I can see how they're making the policies they've got, but they're not running with it. Like, if you're going to be different, be different.
Yeah.
But, like, they were too similar. to the Labor Party. Like they flip flopped on a lot of their policies. They didn't get hard evidence around some of the things they wanted to push, like nuclear and whatnot, and they weren't calling out the lies of the Labor Party in that regard. And it's just weak.
Weak, and I think they really needed to project a bit further than 4 years, and really kick home. If we go down this route, it's not good long term. So why would it be good short term?
Yeah,
and then give a actual an alternative to that. But there was no. I didn't see
any short term solutions. It was just this long term costly solution that won't pay off.
Yeah, and short term it won't pay off.
And like that's kind of the Liberal Party were kind of voting on, like, you need to sacrifice now for your children in the future. That's politics have gone way away from that type of thinking. Though I can't remember who it was, but they call it cut stem politics now, or cut stem society. It's like there's an amazing flower that our society has kind of created. Like Australia was flourishing, and so they've cut it off from its roots, and now they're holding it up and putting it in a vase, going, oh yeah, look at this. Then you can show it around and whatnot. But we're not actually,
feeding it.
It can't be. It's ripped out from its roots. So the things that made Australia prosperous was cheap energy, coal, and we have some of the best coal technology in the world, like some of the cleanest coal. Like even Japan is buying our plans for our clean coal facilities. Like that's how good they are. I mean, they're not going to be clean as solar and wind and nuclear is, but like it's also cheap, and we've got the infrastructure there to already support it. Whereas the renewable stuff, we actually need to put in.
And that's when Tony Abbott won the unwinnable election. He just ran on the principles that we're not going to shake up the whole system.
Yeah,
like we've already got the. It's changing.
It's changing again. It probably hasn't changed much at all. Probably just there.
Yeah,
update.
But running on that, which is conservative values, I guess. Conservatism and liberalism is just a time difference, really. Liberals want it, as in not the Conservative Party liberals, but liberal people want big change right now, and conservatives want it over a period of time.
Yeah.
So they don't mind the change; it just can't happen right away.
I think the more conservative viewpoint normally is, we want to create a system where our kids will flourish, kind of thing. You want to you're planting the trees that'll grow to provide shade for your kids in the future.
Yeah, but
like that's not what we're currently doing, and I think our system doesn't even placate to that anymore. It's really, especially with compulsory voting, you kind of get this. Who are the masses here in Australia? You've got massive block in, and lower middle income earners really got hit a lot in the last 8 years in terms of like inflation and things like that. It's really
cost of living,
and because of that, their standard of living has gone down, and so they're crying out for help. And so who's offering the help? It's always the people who are going to be at the bottom of the barrel are always going to vote to extract more to help them.
Yeah. And I can empathize with that, but I don't think that's a good long-term strategy.
No. And
that just creates a dependency cycle.
Yeah. And so we're kind of already in this kind of dependency politics, this cycle. Like I was wrestling with it the other day. How do you even move away from that? Is it by just...
So this is kind of marries up, I guess. In New Zealand, to get rid of smoking, they just said once you're at this date, if you're 18, you can keep purchasing cigarettes, but anyone that turns 18 after that point cannot.
Yeah.
That's how they have to do it. The problem is once people are on it, it's difficult to get them off. And I'd say when they make these policies, they'll say this is the metric we're going to measure it by, but they never measure it by the metric that they say. So if they go, we're going to create wealth and it's actually going to make people more independent if we give them the hand up when they need it. It's not a handout. But then they end up generationally on welfare. They go, oh, well, they're not in poverty. It's like, no, that wasn't the metric you described at the start. This is to get people to be less dependent on the government, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, to support the government to deliver their big promises. Like I guess one of the big things in this election was which may have got them a lot of votes, was this 20% reduction in uni fees.
Yeah.
Like that's a huge amount of money.
You know, they already subsidize 80%. So
through the unis.
Through the unis.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And so now they're going to give back the 20%, and they're going to pay for that through this.
But what if you've already paid? Are they grandfathering?
Yeah, I don't know. No? Me and my wife, we paid it all back. We had
because they're talking about being fair. That's not fair.
It's not fair. It's not fair. But like, I guess, like, let's say, like, I was talking about the pension the other day. So the pension and super. So the pension was there. People paid into taxes their whole life, and so when they reached a certain age, they were entitled to, I guess, a pension.
Yeah.
And so some of them wouldn't, I guess, think about the future and save for the future because they know that safety net is there.
Yeah.
Like they're just happy going on. And now we've got super, which is kind of supposed to help us get off of the pension. And somebody showed me an article recently about the cost of super and how much it actually costs to run. It's like $30 billion to run super in Australia, from the government's perspective, and it costs, I think it was like $6 billion for the pension. There's a big difference there, but I don't know if that's because there's so much more going on in super, but super's already gone off the rails of what it was supposed to be in the first place. But you're also taking money out of the system that could have then been put into the system to make people more wealthy, to be able to then.
Yes, it takes away self-determination. No, I can't speak to what you were just talking about because I haven't seen that article. But
I'll see if I can find it. Then
self-determination, I think it's difficult, but you can't force someone to be wise. You can't force someone to be stupid. You can't force them to be smart. Like, but I don't think other people should pay for your poor mistakes as well.
Yeah.
When I say that, obviously you have family and friends and church community, and they sort of will catch you if you fall a bit. But it's not like I don't want to pay for your kids to go to uni. You don't want to pay for my kids to go to university. You know, like,
yeah,
it doesn't work like that. But to your point before with voting, you got to be careful with who you say can and can't vote. I actually agree with you that there needs to be it shouldn't be forced to vote. One, like,
as in compulsory.
People that donkey vote, I used to be like, well, you're such a waste. Like,
apparently this is like one of the biggest elections that had like the most amount of
donkey votes.
Or just no shows.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can find that. But that would be interesting.
Yeah, there's some people that have said that they'd rather just pay the fine than vote.
Yeah, I think it was what, $20 fine or
55.
Really?
Yeah. But I reckon it should be accessible to all, but not compulsory. So if you want to vote, you can. It would get.
Yeah. So we kind of want to you.
But then there's
about the American system.
Not quite the same.
Why?
But also get rid of two-party preferred when your vote gets allocated. I don't care if you get 40% or 20%. If you're the majority, you have that seat. In my opinion, you ran the best campaign in your area. You should be representing your area. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. 2025 election turnouts. Let's see if I can pull this up for everyone. It's not actually giving me any numbers. National voter turnout. So 90% of Australians turned out, which is
All right. That's
lower in 2022. Really?
Do we have a federal election in 2022?
It doesn't say. Well, yeah, 3 years.
Oh, the referendum.
No, the 2023 referendum. 2022 was the last federal election, which Albanese got in the first time. That was his first run, and it looks like 10% of Australians didn't vote.
Who's 2013?
So we need to go back in time. 2019 was ScoMo. Before ScoMo was
Gillard Rudd?
Gillard Rudd. And then what was that, Abbott?
Surely.
Surely.
Yeah, surely.
Or was that Malcolm Turnbull?
Oh,
Or did
no.
Malcolm Turnbull take over?
He took I don't think he got elected.
No,
he never got elected.
Took over Abbott, right? They stabbed him in the back. 10%. There's a lot of people not voting there for a compulsory thing.
10%, 2.7 million.
Yeah, but then you got to factor in kids and stuff. So voting population of Australia.
Fair.
I can quickly look that up.
And surely
voting population.
Once you hit retirement age,
18,500,000.
So 1.8 million. Once you hit retirement age, surely you don't have to vote. You still should be allowed to, but you shouldn't be forced to go in on a Saturday and vote.
They're the ones who are going to be able to vote the most. Got the most time.
Yeah. But when I'm 80, I'm not going to care about politics.
Yeah.
Stuff that.
I think I would. It's going to affect my kids. It's going to affect my grandkids. I'm going to want to have my say there because I'm going to want I want them to have the best future.
They them. Oh no.
I want my kids and my grandkids to have the best future as possible. So I will sacrifice as much as I need now to be able to scrape through so they can have a better future.
Yeah. I don't mind self-sacrificing now, but when I'm 80, they're looking after me.
Yeah. But you can still think about their future. That's another thing you got to think of. It seems like some of the policies recently have also been placating to the older generation. So they're kind of the middle. The middle generations have kind of just been pushed to the side because our biggest voting blocks are baby boomers, and then you get that young people vote as well. They're not our biggest block, but
I've heard, and I believe this to be true on face value, that the more unattainable home ownership is, the more left-leaning the vote will be.
Yeah, because they want to take from the system so they can get ahead.
Yeah, and more subsidising and rent and stuff like that is more the view that they're going for, not like how do I retain wealth, and that would be like a conservative frame of mind.
Yeah, you will have nothing and you'll be happy.
Yeah.
So going to the election results here. So Labor overwhelming win in the House.
Yeah.
And they've also got the Senate at the moment, and it looks like they'll have the majority in the Senate
through the Greens.
Which that's another thing I was very pleased to see is that the Greens have won?
Yeah. But watching the coverage, watching the coverage, well, he only got through because the Liberals pranked the Labor.
Yeah.
The two-party preferred system went against Labor. Anyway.
Yeah. But
they're going to struggle to retain seats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, that when I heard that the Greens just completely lost it. That was a happy day for me. I was a smiling boy then.
Now the Teals, how'd they go?
They're a part of the Independents, so
Retained it.
I
Well
wonder
done.
if I can get that broken down a bit more. How do I break down like independence?
Held by. See
Held
that?
by? Yeah, okay. It just says independent. So
Victoria.
what does it mean to be an independent? Like I understand, but like where do they sit?
Doesn't matter. Just passing thought.
Oh well.
Um,
Down the bottom there, like they've got. I guess maybe they mean independent because they're actually not affiliated with anything.
my takeaway.
Because these ones, they still have their Pauline Hanson,
Oh.
the Trumpets are Patriots. So like they actually got their Libertarians, the Greens. They all got their names there. Independent. Surely that means that like they're directly just independent, right?
I have no idea. I'm not that smart. The big takeaway I got from all this is I'm really happy that the Trumpeter Patriots
Didn't.
didn't. And the ads were annoying, and the
Yeah. So
clear propaganda that they're trying to
yeah.
sell us. I'm glad that no one fell for it. 'Cause it makes me a bit more
Do you okay?
optimistic
So
about
one of the big
people.
things they talked about during this election was, at the outset of this election were outset. Outset's there. Finish
No,
or onset. Onset.
outset.
Outset is
Yeah.
Is this idea of this Trump effect, right?
Yeah.
So like because of how Trump has got in power in I guess the USA, and people have seen the cuts and the stuff that they're doing there. They're kind of fearing that, and the tariff war that he's got going on. That
Yeah.
we're gonna have a Trump like that, and so they're just fearful of getting anywhere near that because all we get in our mainstream media is Trump bad. They don't talk about any of the good he does.
Yeah. I think that kind of political stuff doesn't really translate over here. It's a completely different culture and definitely different
Yeah, so
election system.
it was just something that they're talking about on the mainstream media was this Trump effect.
But
Like, didn't you know what was weird though? Out of everyone I spoke to, other than people who I already knew to be, I guess, Labor supporters, which I don't know a few of them, but not heaps. But like everyone was voting. They were saying they were voting an independent.
yeah.
I actually thought they would have done a lot better
Well,
what they did.
the Labor only got a third of the votes. It was just a two-party preferred system that
Yeah.
kicked them over. With that too, our unemployment's gone down in the last 4 years, but our productivity as a nation's gone down. Now, I don't know. I'm not really good with math, but more workers usually means more productivity.
You'd hope so.
Yeah. So what it is it's all government jobs. So there's no one's actually producing anything, selling anything. It's just bureaucracies.
Those bureaucracies exist to extract from the people. I mean, they're talking about these unrealized gains, and there was a thing of article by I think it was the Daily Telegraph of people being stung by these unrealized gains kind of thing. They get their property got valuated every year or something, and every time it went up in value, they got taxed that value. But it's not money you actually have. It's in the property.
Yeah, I'd have to see that.
Let me see if I can find that one.
I'd caution anyone against putting forward ideas based on envy, so taxation and stuff. Oh, you're rich. It's like I watch my dad work every day, and hardly saw him. He was earning good money, but he had 6 kids, and all the expenses of life.
Yeah,
and there wasn't any money. So that's my point of view with taxes. I don't like I don't like them being based on envy.
Oh, the unrealized gains is for um,
Super.
super by the looks of it. Um, so
Tax.
as in, let's see if that comes up with anything. Daily Mail. I think this is the one. Or maybe it was Daily Mail, not the Daily Telegraph. Yeah, this was the title. It was, imagine you had to get your property valued each year and then pay tax on how much the value went up. These Aussies are about to
Get hit.
these Aussies are about to get hit with the scenario every year.
It's saying imagine though. Is that because it's only talked about in the political circles, or it's actually
Yeah, let's see what.
been implemented?
Well, that
Labor
is how the
wants.
government plans to work to the unrealized superannuation gains. You pay the tax on the principal asset, such as a house bought in a super fund, and if you can't pay for it, then you must sell the asset to
Right.
cover the tax. So I guess it's just directly to, yeah. So it is related to the unrealized tax stuff.
So that's a super if you're self-funded.
Oh yes,
Self-funded.
yeah. I mean, you
Self-run.
can depending on the super, I guess, company you go with, you can direct them to kind of invest where you'd like them to invest if you want to invest in property or shares or whatever. Um, but yeah, it's for all those who then, I guess, put all their super into property and whatnot. That's what they're kind of coming back to.
But how, even then, if it's run through your super, how do you pay?
So it's when you, I think it starts probably. I don't know how it works.
But like, it's not like your money's tied up in the asset. How do you draw money from
Well, that's what they were just saying
bricks?
above. Like, um, uh, in a year where it is assessed to have increased in value, you're taxed 30% on that increase, and you are forced to pay tax debt straight away, even if you aren't selling the asset.
But what happens if
You
you?
can't. I thought it said somewhere.
So say it goes up by
Okay,
yeah.
yeah. Well, that's how the government plans to tax unrealized superannuation gains. You pay tax on the principal asset, such as a house bought in a superannuation super fund, and if you can't pay for it, you must sell the asset to cover the tax.
That is dumb. So
So where
if it
does
goes
that?
up 1 year by 10%, you pay 20% of 10%, so 2% of the value of the property.
Yeah.
But what happens if next year it goes down by 10%?
What do you get money back?
Yeah, like
No, that won't happen. Especially when they're predicting a I don't know how they're going to avoid it, but like when the baby boomers start dying and passing on their wealth because they're the ones who own what like the majority of the wealth in Australia, they're going to have to figure out a way of taxing that kind of thing.
there's already inheritance tax.
Yeah, hey, there's just tax
Yeah.
every bit of you. If you sell a kidney, you get taxed on that too. Oh dear. But yeah, so that's a part of the unrealized gains tax. So if you so does that mean it's just for houses in that
Just
superannuation, or do you think it's
superannuation housing.
superannuation housing? But let's say you have shares and it goes up in value,
No, actually, yeah,
still an asset.
they were talking about that ages ago. They're not going to do that. That's too complicated. Because that's all.
Okay, so they'll just
It's
go back.
market speculation is a
So what
lot
we
of.
should be doing is not investing in housing at all.
That's a good way to not get people to invest.
Yeah. Well, that's what when I was looking for this article, one of the articles did say like, this this whole unrealized tax stuff will end up seeing an exodus of millionaires from Australia.
Yeah.
The people who have the money will just go, oh, it's no point keeping it here. No point investing in Australia because they're just going to take it from me. But they're talking about the problem. I think one of the biggest problems that I hear people talking about is that this unrealized tax thing is like capped at 3 million, and then anything over 3 million is then taxed, but it's not indexed. So eventually, like inflation and stuff will happen. Prices of everything will go up. That 3 million is still the same. So everyone, so probably us now, where
We're going to be millionaires that can't afford bread.
yeah,
Yeah.
because all our super is going to be taxed.
That's what happened in Zimbabwe when they were printing all that money.
Yeah,
Hyperinflation, and it was price of a house was the price of bread.
crazy.
4 years later, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so we better stop printing money. Okay, back to the election results and where we can find the hope in the hope in this whole situation. And I think one of the things is that you've got you've got Labor with a very very big majority there in the House. They've got a majority in what do you call it, in the Senate, but they have they have to play. No, they don't have a majority.
They have the majority.
They have the majority. They have the most seats, but they don't. They need to. They'll need to play with. They'll need to negotiate with the others to get things.
Either Liberals or Greens.
Yeah,
but
they can also
they always go to the Greens.
They can also kind of decide to block it as much as possible. Now, I guess my hope is, and I'm happy to be proved wrong here, but with the accumulated power that Labor now has, that they have a bit more free reign to actually do more of what they want to do. And so they can either, instead of having to placate to anyone else kind of thing, they can actually push through with the things that they want to do. Now, that can either be really good for Australia or really bad for Australia. Now, either way, I'm happy to be proved wrong if it ends up turning out to be really good. If it turns out to be really bad and like cost of living continues to go up, power prices continue to go up and whatnot, it'll kind of be like Joe Biden's 2022. Like US went down a hole, and it forced everyone else to kind of rethink their strategy here, and then it also forced the vote to go elsewhere.
But with that, the Liberals need to
sort themselves out.
Put themselves together and produce something that can actually function.
Yeah, so they need to actually do a Trump and actually reform themselves, because I think 2016 Trump and 2024 Trump are two very different people. He's refined himself. He's put the right people around him. Very different party in terms of the MAGA party or the Republican Party altogether. This is Liberals' chance to either capitalize on the future failings of the Liberal Party or
of the Labor Party,
and completely reform and to get their people where they need to be.
It's not like it's difficult because they just had to look back, like Tony Abbott, John Howard, these prime ministers that could win seats. I reckon if they
do you think it's a matter of looking back because you've got a different generation coming through?
Well, you're the Conservative Party. You have to be conservative. What's worked in the past, that's conservatism.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, like, you can't just look back. You do need to look back and move forward, I guess. Yeah, you are right. You need to look back to then move forward. You need to learn from the mistakes and learn from your winnings and failings so you can actually produce a better result for Australia. Now,
and the thing is that the Liberals stood by their leader, seemingly, and they didn't have that tested until the whole thing with Tony Abbott and all that. So I don't know that they can like for me, they can't differentiate themselves too much with Labor unless they do policy. So they have to really work on where they want to go policy wise.
Mm.
If they're going to do like we're going to try to spend as much money as Labor, they're going to lose that game
Yeah.
because Labor can spend it.
They know how to spend it.
Yeah, and that's not their role. I've always viewed it when I was younger, and I voted both ways because you do need reform at some point and to spend the money. And so I see it like a pendulum.
Yeah.
And right now, we really need, from my mind, we need conservatism right now.
Yeah.
We need to get this budget
That-
back into control.
That's kind of my hope, that because the pendulum has swung so far one way, that it'll need to come back the other way. And the Australian people will see that it needs to come back the other way. And that'll go, there might be this big autocorrect. But, you know, I'm also, again, happy to be proven wrong with the majority power of the Labor Party if they actually want to do good in Australia.
Yeah.
I don't foresee it happening. I don't see it in I guess my circles of conversation. It just, but like I you know, we've got to try to find hope in every situation, and my hope is that they can either pull it off, or they can burn, and they can not burn, they can crash and burn, and and then the Australian people have their say.
Mm. Yeah, Liberals really need to work on themselves because, like, I don't, I'm not a like, I'd prefer Liberals over Labor, but it's like picking your poison.
Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the things. The compulsory voting is where I actually think that it actually comes in and hurts. It makes the two parties too similar.
The problem is if you started
You can't change that though.
if they did a yes no vote type thing, so a referendum, and it was asking Australian people, do we want there to be liability for politicians if they do a terrible job? And they would never put that forward because it would be, I reckon, it would be overwhelmingly yes. If a CEO was running the company like the government gets run,
Yeah.
they'll be locked up. The other way to change it would be through voting reform, but again, I reckon you'd get too much one way traffic with voting. So if there was a way that they forced people to vote looking towards the future, the Labor Party wouldn't be the Labor Party. It would just be two traditional liberal parties, two types of conservatives.
What if we just got rid of the two-party preferred?
I'd be happy with that. I'd be happy with any type of reform. Again,
because I mean, like, Liberal Nationals, like they've broken up.
Yeah.
So like they're two parties right there that have, you can't, what if they, let's say it was split like 40-60 and 60 is Liberal Party, you got no chance, no hope in the future.
Yeah. But I don't think that's a long term.
No, I think it's just a shake up, and we'll see what happens. I'm hopeful that Australia can pull themselves out of this. Like, Australians always find themselves in hardship, and we find a way of getting through it. And I just hope that Australian spirit has not faltered too much, and that we will get through it, and we will get there in the end. Might be a hard 3 years, might be harder 3 years than the previous 3 years, but I guess we'll see. What do you think?
I'm gonna wait and see.
Yeah, 100%.
I know this is meant to be about hope, but I really
come on, John.
I don't.
Where's the hope?
Well, the issue for me is it's not that they're spending our money, which I'm not happy with them spending our money, but they're spending our children's money.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the, like, as we interviewed Martin, that was kind of the thing that the One Nation wanted to address, was like, we need to think of the future. Like, this debt keeps going up.
Yeah,
we actually need to address this.
And I don't know about you, but the thought of, so say your grocery bills were $200 a week, What
Ours actually went from 50 to 120.
okay, but imagine that. But
Like that's more than double.
imagine if you had a credit card and you're paying $200 a week in interest.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that just seem like you're wasting so much money?
Yep.
That's exactly what they're doing. They're wasting so much money. Not only are we paying for like really crap roads and stuff, but we're paying interest on it. Like, you know,
Yep.
it's stupid. I reckon that they should definitely reform how the government governs, and there should be liability for stuff like that where it's irresponsible management.
Yeah, I don't see that being reformed.
Yeah,
I know we want it as the people. The people. I mean, maybe we'll have to be like Martin and actually do something about it and put ourselves forward as candidates and work our way up and get to be Prime Minister one day. But
it's not really fraud because they're not actually obtaining the money. They're just sitting at a post, letting it go to waste.
yeah.
So I don't know what there'd have to be some sort of new charge. So Singapore, they made it illegal to spin the streets. They got really clean streets.
They do.
You know?
Yeah, they do have a lot more draconian laws over
Yeah.
there, but like it works for them. I
But
guess.
that's taking away liberties from the people. I'd rather the other way around, take the liberties away from this political class.
Yeah.
And not just the politicians, but make the advisors and stuff responsible too. Like when things go wrong, they just shrug their shoulders and like, oh, you tried something and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole shake-up, like with the Liberals losing so badly, it could move people to action, and maybe that's another hope, is that people might see this and go, "Oh, that's not what we wanted," or like if Labor actually stuff it so much, they might be like, "Oh, we need to actually change things," and maybe that might be a hope that we have, that we can actually see.
I will take away all your hope again.
Go for it.
My idea of a better system is tax deductions rather than getting handouts. I think you still have to work, and then they go,
Yep.
we can keep more of your money because you've got these outlays, right? There won't be that they will need that tax money so desperately.
Well, that's why they're doing this whole unrealized tax, unrealized things, because
You're going to be so
the unrealized tax thing was so they can use that to pay for this 20% wiping of the student debt.
Yeah, but that is so idiotic. If my kids wanted to go to uni, I'd go, like, good on you for wanting to have a better education than your parents and stuff like that, and being, progressing yourself forward more. But that comes with the responsibility of, this debt.
Mm.
You have to pay that off, and it's not like they have to pay it off in one go, which you can. But
yeah, I actually think like we should go back to the old system where you actually had to prove to a lender that you were worth the risk in terms of getting that degree, and then being able to use that degree to get a better job, and then use that job to be able to pay that back.
I've talked to heaps of people that went through university. I know this is anecdotal.
Anecdotal.
That's the word. But the amount of people that switched courses after like a year or it's like if you had to get that loan, you'd be like, I really want to be a nurse, or I really don't want to be a nurse.
Yeah,
I'm not going to do 50-50 and see how I go.
Yeah, because it's not actually something that you're not really seeing as well. It's not like, it feels, because it dies with you, and it just feels like there's no actual, like I had uni fees before, and it really, uni debt I should say, and it wasn't really a factor in my life until I actually started buying a house, and then that became a factor, and we actually had to pay it off. But a lot of those young people, all the young people I've talked to, don't even have any. They've lost hope. They don't have hope in buying. They're like, we're never going to own a house. The only way we're going to get a house is through an inheritance.
Yeah, I don't like that. That's almost as ugly as envy.
Yeah.
waiting until your
Parents
parents'
die.
hands are cold.
No, it's more just like they've lost hope that they will ever be able to afford a house. So they're like, well, why? Because I talk to some young blokes and I'm like, so why aren't you like trying to save for the future or anything like that? And they're like, there's no future to save for. May as well just spend it now on me.
Yeah, I think that's just an
It's
excuse. It's not. It's only the reality they create.
yeah. I mean, I had kind of had that reality until much later, and I was a bit more wiser and actually like, or maybe I do have it because the area I grew up in ended up becoming quite wealthy, in terms of just house prices just went through the
Yeah.
roof. So like, um, yeah, like I had no, and I was like, oh, is this where I'm gonna, you got a bit of tunnel vision there. The where you grow up is kind of where you're like, oh, this is probably where I'm gonna, buy a house and raise a family. Is not.
Yeah.
My kids won't be able to afford where I've just bought.
Yeah, probably.
They probably won't be able to afford. I have a no hope to be able to buy where my parents bought, and they're
Yeah.
just gonna keep.
Again, there's other avenues to generate wealth, and
Yeah.
that could happen.
Well, that's why I always that I try to tell them like the best thing you can do is start by even just reading The Barefoot Investor. I know I harp on about it. Big fan of that book. Don't even have to read it. Audiobook. Listen to it. Absolutely will help you to get hope for the future in terms of finance.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they should be like asking. Maybe that could be a future strategy. Is you need to talk to people like Scott Pape and be like, if I'm going to create fiscal policy, how would you be doing it? And talk to him about it.
Well, I think that what you described is definitely what I've heard. Like, oh, there's no chance of me doing it, so I might as well just spend the money on takeout and all this stuff and drinking and
Something else. I do know people who have thought about, I'll just put it into shares and just live off dividends, and that I actually don't think that's a bad plan.
yeah, but
Especially ETFs.
the Australian dream is the house,
It's the house, yeah,
and having the kids and the car and the dog and whatever else. But with that short term strategy that they can perceive the world to be, like, I won't get that, I won't get this, I won't get that because I can't never afford it.
Yep.
They got that same sort of attitude going into work, so they go, "Oh, I don't need to put in the effort because I'm not going to be here for that long," and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, so they're not creating wealth because they're not making themselves worth more.
Yeah.
And they're not saving, and like, so it's like this depreciating returns here rather than appreciating returns where you get more skilled and more competent, and regardless of if you stay in that industry or not, you're just a better worker.
Yeah.
So you're worth more.
Yeah.
And then you can save more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's just my perception of the younger people coming through.
I think we're gonna have to rename this podcast.
Right.
Hope versus no hope.
No, I see. I reckon there is hope out there, and that's what we need to look to. So there are examples of the opposite being true, where someone's put in the effort, they've moved to where they want to move, and found the girl, found the house.
Yeah, well,
doing life.
we are talking very superficial hope here, like in terms of just living and whatnot, but we're not actually talking about like the real hope, which I believe is Christianity, is a hope in Jesus Christ. Going through the wilderness, like this could be our wilderness. Like
definitely, I won't deny that.
Yeah, like
ever.
this could actually take us to that hard place and go, hang on, where is my hope? Obviously it's not in government.
I just hope that Albo doesn't give us free manna.
Free. I don't think he can.
Because I've been completely wrong about the guy.
Well, that's it. Like, I'm happy to be proved wrong. But yeah, like we need to remember that, like, it doesn't matter how bad things get.
I think that analogy probably would work for the Liberal Party right now, they're going through the wilderness,
Yeah.
and we're going to go through hell. I think that might be the
Well, see, I guess that's one of the problems. One of the things I see, one of the things that I see could happen with a more Labor Party majority is that religious freedoms can be attacked so much
Yeah.
easier, and that might be
with
the
the
way.
Greens
Yeah,
on their side.
yeah, in the Senate, but like that might be the way God wants it to go anyway. Don't know, but like we grow through hardship, and this next season could be hardship, might not. Don't know. We'll see. But like we will be here week on week to tell people that there is a greater hope. Like things might get hard, but there is a greater hope, and that's Jesus and God. And we get yourself hooked into a church, and those people, they build community and they look after each other.
And the thing with the Bible, and I talked more recently to a friend Laura, which everyone knows.
Everyone knows. Look up the episode.
Yeah,
Laura.
but
It's a great
discussing if you don't believe in the divinity of the Bible, that's fair enough for yourself. But the application of the Bible just works. Like
Yeah. I mean, like, even if you could just take the teachings of Jesus and go, a guy who's like, it's actually good to submit to the governing authority.
yeah,
Like,
it's tough.
there's things there that are like, okay, like there's some like people who are like, oh, you know, government sucks and whatnot, but what am I trying to say? What's the point I'm trying to say? What am I bringing it home? Come on. Like the teachings of Jesus aren't bad. It's like love your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah.
Like people just see Christians, and I think that's because there's been, you know, people are fallible, people make mistakes, and they've gone through things with this banner of, like Christianity, and it has hurt people, or it's, you know, there's that. There's also the devil's attack on Christians, and so they're definitely one of the most, like, you can insult Christianity in Australia, but you can't insult like Islam. You insult Islam, you get into a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
For hate speech or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it needs to, you know, it could be persecution coming our way. Don't know, but like the teachings of Christianity is to love the Lord your God and to love your neighbor as yourself. I don't see how that could be bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, we'll see what happens. You know, I want to ask the audience. I want to ask you, what is your hope? You could be a Labor supporter. Tell us in the comments what you think of the election. What you're hoping to see through this next 3 years.
3 years and beyond, possibly.
Yeah, you never know what could
Yeah.
happen. They could get in for another 3. I think it's the first time a party has been re-elected since since Howard.
Something like that.
Yeah. So he's made history, Albo. He's made a bit of history. But yeah, we'll see what happens. So let us know in the comments what you think. If you want to come on the show and actually tell us your position on it. I mean, there could be things that we're overlooking here, and we'd love to hear from you. And yeah, if you might have the same reaction as us, voice it in the comments. We'd love to hear it. John, anything you want to say in closing?
No, now that we're back, and we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week. It's been a wild ride. John's been all over the Australia working.
Yeah, no, I was in Canberra and I voted in Canberra on election day. So
how'd that feel?
That was pretty cool. We did the loop around the Parliament House, and people were actually able to, in Canberra, allowed to vote at Old Parliament House. That's a
cool
voting booth there. So that was pretty cool.
You had to do like the out of state.
Yeah, out of state one, so I had to go to a special place.
Yeah, like a dungeon.
Yeah. I'll tell you about it after the show.
That'd be fun. All right. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share the show with all your friends, and I will see you next week.
Catch ya.